first name and your last name and spelling them.
Aaron Cooper, AARON, COOPER.
Right. Thank you, sir. Mr. Ringel?
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Cooper, how are you?
Good.
Mr. Cooper, could you explain for the jury what it is that you do for work?
Farm, crop, and cattle.
How long have you been doing that?
As long as I could, or have been able to.
Okay. Essentially since you were able?
Yep.
Okay.
Born and raised.
Family business?
Yep.
Was your father a farmer?
Yep.
Was your mom involved in that business as well?
Yes, for bookkeeping.
Bookkeeping. Where's the property that you're farming, or properties that you're farming?
The main farm, is that what you're asking? Where I currently live.
Okay. And is that in or around Traer, Iowa?
Yeah.
You married, sir?
Yes.
And do you have any children?
3.
What are your children's names?
Aniston, Raylan, and Rory.
All right. And how are you related to Ryan?
My brother.
To your older brother or younger brother?
Older.
By how much?
4 years.
We've heard some testimony about this, but did Ryan have any children?
What's that?
Did Ryan have any children?
Yes.
How many children did he have?
4.
Did you and Ryan farm together?
Yes.
Can you explain how long you worked together in farming?
As long as I can remember.
Okay. Ever since you were kids?
Yep.
So what were your respective roles then if you're both working together in farming?
No, we shared pretty much all the roles together for the most part. From planting to harvest and working cattle and hauling grain.
So when you say hauling cattle and hauling grain, I guess could you just briefly outline the operation? There's been some reference to the fact that it's a family business. What does that business look like? What components are there? If there's a hauling component, does that include trucking? Just kind of tell the jury how the whole system works.
Okay. Most of the time, like for harvest, we would haul in grain to the elevators. And then certain years we would store grain and then haul it to a facility, like a ethanol plant.
Okay. And then, depending on the season, you're, like you said, planting and harvesting and everything else that goes with farming?
Yep.
Is there a trucking component to that, and is that just limited to farming?
We have a feedlot that we raise cattle at, and we haul a majority of our own cattle to market.
Okay. So do you own the land that you farm, or did you and Ryan own that land?
The farm owned all of our land.
Okay. So when you say the farm owned all of the land, are you talking about Cooper Farms?
Yes.
Is that an LLC?
Incorporated.
Okay. So everything's owned by Cooper Farms?
Mm-hmm.
So all the land is owned by Cooper Farms. What else is owned by Cooper Farms?
Our properties, our houses, the
when
trucks.
You say our houses, how many houses are we talking about?
Be me and my brothers. We have two other properties along that same highway that my parents lived at, and then an extra one.
And under this Cooper Farms umbrella, then, we have all the farm property, these houses, which include the houses that you live in?
Correct.
And the house that Ryan lived in at the time?
Correct.
All right. What about farm machinery and implements?
The farm owns all those.
And you're talking about doing a lot of hauling. Were there semi-trucks and trailers as well?
Yes.
Same question. I think it's going to be the same answer.
Same answer,
farm?
yes. Farm.
Okay. So is there any other work that you're doing in addition to farming?
No.
Are you a volunteer firefighter?
Yes.
How long have you been doing that?
Since 2018.
And what are your duties as a volunteer firefighter?
Any duty that's required.
Okay, such as?
Running accident scenes to house fires to medical lift assists.
So I want to talk to you about the summer of 2021. Where were you living at that time?
At my current home on the main farm.
How close was that to the house that Ryan and Karina Cooper were living in?
Probably a mile and a half.
And that's where you were living in June of 2021?
Yes.
Could you describe, you've already talked about the fact that you had children, Ryan and Karina had some children, you're living nearby one another, obviously your family. Mm-hmm. What's the relationship like between the two families?
Oh, I would say normal. Holidays, birthdays, get-togethers.
Okay, so the families would see each other with some frequency?
Yeah.
And you said holidays and birthdays, pretty standard?
Yep.
What was your relationship with Ryan?
He was my brother. I guess I don't understand the question.
So you're working with him. How often are you seeing him?
Regularly.
Okay. Were you guys pretty close?
In a sense, yeah.
Okay. All right. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may, and you don't need to ask again with this witness.
Showing you what has been marked as State's Exhibits number 303 and 304. Do you recognize what those are?
Yes.
And what are those?
Pictures of Ryan with his children.
And I'm going to move to admit and publish those photographs, Your Honor.
Any objection? No. All right. It's 303 and 304, correct?
Yes, and Your Honor, I would ask
Yeah.
that, may we approach?
You may. And 304 are admitted. And you'd like to publish these?
Yes, please.
All right, try it again. Right, hold on. Well, I'll try it again. Okay.
All right, what are we seeing in exhibit number 303?
The Ryan with all four of his children.
Okay. Do you remember or have any idea roughly when this was taken?
And Cortland was a baby, so roughly 9 years ago.
Okay. And this is 304. What are we looking at here?
Ryan with Cortland in our skid loader.
Okay. Same question, I think probably roughly the same answer about how old is this photo?
8 years
Okay.
ago, probably.
About 8 years ago?
All
right.
I'm bad with those.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. That's fine, Your Honor. All right, so you stated that the families would do things together, birthdays and holidays. Did you take trips together as well? Just both of the families spend time with all the children?
Yes,
Okay. And how well did you know Karina?
pretty well.
How could you explain that?
I guess I don't know how.
When did you first meet her?
I think we were down at Lake of the Ozarks.
Okay. And do you know how long she and Ryan were married before he passed away?
Not off the top of my head.
All right. Do you have an idea of how long she was somebody that was part of your family?
Roughly 10, or my wife won't be mad at me. 10 plus years.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to pull that microphone just a little bit closer to you. We're having a little bit of trouble hearing you. Your Honor, could we put the lights back up? Here. All right, so I want to talk to you then about early morning of June 18th. Did you receive a phone call from Karina Cooper on that morning?
I did.
What was the nature of that phone call?
That somebody was inside their home.
Can you describe the tone or demeanor of the conversation you had with her?
Hysterical.
So you get a call and she says someone's in their house. Did she say anything else?
Not much, just words you couldn't really come up with. It's mainly just screaming.
Did she say anything about Ryan at all?
No.
Did she mention whether Ryan was injured or bleeding?
No.
Did she ask you to call 911?
No.
Did she ask you to call for an ambulance?
No.
Do you remember roughly what time this call was?
4:30
That's 4:30 a.m. or p.m.?
a.m.
What were you thinking at that time?
At first, didn't know if it was real just because woke up out of sleep for it, but I didn't know what to think.
So what'd you do?
I grabbed a pistol that I had and went over there.
How'd you get there?
Drove
What'd you drive?
in my pickup.
Okay, so you take your pickup. You have a pistol. Do you remember which pistol that was?
It was a 9mm.
Do you remember about how long it took you to get there?
At least 5 minutes.
Okay. You said you live pretty much just up the road, right?
Yes.
All right. Describe for me then what you saw when you arrived.
Went in the house and Cable let me in, or Cade let me in, sorry. And Karina was laying across Ryan on his recliner.
Okay. So you pull into the driveway. At this point, the only information you have is that someone's in the house
Correct.
and you have your pistol. Talk to me about how you get from parking the truck. What are you seeing from the time you park the truck to the time you're getting up to the house?
I saw Cade in the window.
So you saw Cade in the window. How old was he at that point? Roughly.
11 or 12.
What were you thinking when you saw Cade in the window?
My threat level went somewhat down.
Okay, why? Should be obvious, but why?
Because if there was somebody in their house that was not supposed to be there, I wouldn't figure he would be out and about.
Okay. You said Cade let you inside.
Yes.
What door did you go in?
Be the door that goes into the kitchen.
Into the kitchen door. Did he open that door for you?
Yes.
What were your observations of his demeanor at that time, if any?
Mainly just looked like shock.
Okay. When you say that, what do you mean?
Just confusion.
Did he say anything to you?
Not that I remember.
Are you hearing anything at this point when you get up towards the door?
Her screaming.
When you say her, you mean Karina?
Karina.
Cade lets you in. You hear Karina screaming. Cade's the one that opened the door. Where's the screaming coming from?
The living room. Well, I couldn't tell exactly, but it would seem like it was coming from the south side of the home.
Okay. When you say the south side, is that the side with the living room?
Yes.
Okay. When you enter that house, we've had some testimony about this before from some of the deputies that were in the house. When you enter through that, right, what's marked there, that you said the door that goes into the kitchen, I suppose, there's a mudroom there as well?
Yes, the main door entrance there.
Once you're in the house, is there any way to get over to where Ryan Cooper is in the living room without going all the way around through the kitchen and the hallway?
No.
So that's the only way to get there once you're in the house from there?
Once you're in the house, yeah.
So obviously you traveled that route to get to the living room.
Yes.
What did you see when you got into the living room?
Ryan in the chair with her on top of him.
So she's on top of him. Any other adults in the house at that point?
No.
Did you see anyone else in the house at all? Besides, obviously, you mentioned Kate.
Cable and Cortland.
Okay. Did you see them at that point, like initially, or not?
I believe so, yes.
So you said Karina was on Ryan. Could you tell what she was doing?
Not exactly, just laying on him, up against him, I guess, like face to face.
Okay, face to face?
I think, yeah.
Okay, so her face is, you're seeing her face is literally against his face?
Yeah, kind of like you would be hugging, almost.
Could you tell which side of his face her face was touching?
Be his left.
Was she doing anything? Was she moving, or was she just pressed against him?
I don't recall exactly what she was doing.
Okay. So you come in, she's sitting on top of him, her face is on the left side of his face. Did you make an attempt to touch Ryan? Or determine if he had a pulse?
Yes.
And explain that for us. What did you feel?
I remember grabbing his leg, and at that point did not feel warm. It wasn't cold, but didn't feel warm. And I checked for a pulse, and got no pulse.
I'm sorry.
I did not get a pulse.
You say you touched his leg. Was that his bare leg? Was he wearing shorts?
Yes.
And you said his leg was cold?
Yeah. Yes.
Did you make any observations regarding any blood or tissue or anything else at the scene? At that point?
I noticed the blood. I mean,
What did you observe?
what's that?
What did you see?
Just blood on his
Where?
face, coming out of his nose and ears.
Any observations about the blood itself? Did it appear wet or dry, or no observation at all?
I remember it was either the nose or the ears. It seemed like it was drying or dry.
So this is the blood that's on his face. Did you see blood elsewhere in the room?
On the floor.
What observations did you make of that blood?
At that point, it looked like it was darkening. It wasn't bright red.
What did that mean to you?
That it wasn't immediately fresh.
What experience do you have that you're basing that opinion on?
Just from hunting and my own life events. If you get cut, you kind of figure what it looks like when it dries.
Did you make any attempt to talk to Karina? She's sitting on top of Ryan. She called you over there. She said someone was in the house. Did you try to talk to her at all?
Not that I recall.
Any reason?
Hysteria.
Yours or hers?
Hers.
Okay. Were you able to get any information out of her?
No.
You said that she's sitting on top of him. She's got her face against his face. Did you ever see her attempt to render aid?
No.
Did you ever see her attempt to perform CPR?
No.
Did she ask you to perform CPR?
No.
Any reason to believe she's aware that you're a volunteer firefighter?
Yes.
Why?
We're family, and she knows I am a firefighter.
So one thing we haven't talked about yet, you're on the way over to Ryan and Karina's property down the road from your house. She told you someone was in the house. You have a pistol. Did you attempt to call 911?
Yes,
When did you make that call?
on my way out the driveway of my house.
Okay, so as you're leaving your own property,
Correct.
you call 911.
Yes,
For what purpose?
because I was told somebody was in their house.
Okay. So I'm assuming you were able to contact and reach 911, is that
Yes.
correct? And do you remember when you terminated that phone call? When did you hang up with 911?
When the deputy got there.
Okay. When you say when the deputy got there, that wasn't the best question on my part. Where were you when you hung up with 911?
In the living room.
Okay, so you're in the
I
living room
believe.
at Ryan's. So throughout the duration of what you just described to us, where you leave your house, you enter Ryan and Karina's property, you come through to the living room, you're on the phone with 911 until a deputy arrives.
Correct.
And, Your Honor, I believe State's Exhibit number 100 has previously been admitted. The State would move to publish.
Yes, it has been admitted, and see if we can get there.
Yep, just let me know when you're ready. Ladies and gentlemen, while he's doing that, I'm going to stand up and stretch. Feel free. Anybody can. Mr. Ringo, you there?
Indeed, Your Honor, thank you.
All right. So everybody have a seat. Okay. Go ahead and publish whenever you're ready.
County 911, what is the location of your emergency?
I'm going to tell you in a minute. I just got a call from my sister-in-law that somebody's in their house.
Okay, someone's in her house. What
Yeah.
address?
It's K Avenue, 1846 K Avenue.
1846 K Avenue.
Yep.
Yeah, what you got, Jamie? Okay, someone's in her house,
Yep, I'm just pulling in now.
and you're there.
I'm just coming in my driveway.
Okay, because that's up in Traer area.
Yep, yep.
I have a. What's your sister's name?
Karina Cooper.
Cooper? Karina?
Yep, yep. I am a firefighter. I got my lights on right now. I just pulled in.
Okay, but she said someone's in the house.
Very bit hysterically.
Yeah, it's because we have.
I see the kids in there.
We have a female on 911, but can't understand her.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if that's her.
It probably is. I am armed. Do you want me to proceed? Okay. Yeah? Okay. Three kids just came out and told me to come out.
Okay. Her brother's there.
She's still screaming.
Yeah, she's still screaming. screaming.
Settle down so I can find out what's going on.
But she said there was somebody in her house.
What the fuck? What? My brother's dead.
What?
What the fuck? We need ambulance now.
Sir?
We need ambulance.
Okay, we need an ambulance. Did somebody get shot?
What?
Did somebody get shot?
What? No, he's got blood coming out of his mouth and everything. So my brother's dead.
Okay, all right, we'll get an ambulance headed to that address that you're at. Which is 1846 K Avenue.
Yep.
Okay, and how old is the person that's on the floor with blood coming out of the mouth?
What's that?
How old is the patient? Do you know?
Fuck.
It's all right. I want you just to take a deep breath. Okay?
Nobody here, Karina.
Who is it that, sir?
He's 42.
Sir?
What?
Sir, can you tell me who it is that's on the
Ryan Cooper.
What's his name? Cooper?
Ryan Cooper. My brother.
Cooper?
Yes.
Okay, and what's your name?
Aaron Cooper.
Aaron Cooper? Okay, so
Yes.
brother?
He's my brother. I don't know.
And you said you're a firefighter, correct?
Yes. Hold on.
Aaron?
Karina, let me try to check. It's fine.
Aaron?
Yep.
I need to know, is
No.
there anyone in the house that's in danger now?
No, I don't think so.
So there's no one there with a gun?
No.
Okay. Okay, you're doing fine, Aaron, okay? I just want you to
Yeah.
stay with me if you can, all right? So there's
No.
nobody there with a gun at this time?
No. No.
We got an ambulance started, okay? We're going to get them started.
Yep.
We have a deputy on the way, okay?
Okay.
Okay, you're doing a good job. You're doing a good job. Can you tell me how your brother's doing?
God.
What happened to your brother?
Laying in his recliner.
I'm sorry, could you say that again, please?
He's just in his recliner. Blood out of his mouth and ears.
Do you know if he's been shot?
No.
He has not, but there's blood coming out of his mouth?
And ears and all over on the floor.
So blood all over?
All over.
Okay.
Can you go, please?
Aaron,
Yeah.
can you tell me what went on or what's going on so I can advise our officer?
There's nothing to advise.
It's just at this time there's nothing going on.
No.
Okay. Do you know, does he have...
No, I don't. I'm trying to...
down to get to you. Are you guys in the living room?
Yeah.
Floor?
No, his recliner.
I'm sorry.
He's in his recliner. There's a cop here now, so.
I'm sorry. I'm having trouble hearing you.
There's a deputy here now.
There is a deputy there? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and let you go, okay?
Okay.
All right. Take care.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you. So that's the phone call, obviously, that you made with 911 on June 18th of 2021?
Correct.
I believe the 911 dispatcher asked you if your brother had been shot, correct?
Yes.
And I think you said that you didn't know.
Correct.
Can you explain what you were observing, what you thought had happened at that point, if anything?
I couldn't tell what was wrong.
Why do you say that? I mean, what were you seeing that left
I
you in
didn't
this
see
state
an
where it
didn't see an obvious injury. Or
Karina had told you that someone was in the house. You arrived at the scene. She's screaming. Did she ever give you a name or express any concern about any individuals?
no.
I think 911 asked you what was going on so that they could advise, and you stated there's nothing to advise. What was that conversation?
That everybody was, or Ryan and her were in the living room, and the kids were in the bedroom, and I have seen nobody at that point.
Did you see any signs of forced entry or anything that gave you concern that anybody else was there?
No.
There's a door behind Ryan, correct? That recliner that he was in?
Yes.
Is that open or closed?
Closed.
So we heard you state at the end of the phone call that a deputy had arrived.
Correct.
We've seen some body cam footage of deputies arriving on the scene and interacting with you. Do you recall those first reactions when law enforcement arrived?
From my reaction when they
just
arrived?
what happened.
Not exactly. I don't really recall.
Did you attempt to provide them with whatever information you knew?
Yes.
Were you able to watch Karina interact with members of law enforcement?
Yes.
Did she ever, based on what you observed, give them any information?
No.
No, you couldn't tell? That was a bad question. My apologies. No, you couldn't tell, or no, she didn't provide them with information?
I couldn't tell.
Okay. So once the deputies arrived, what did you do next? Did you stay in the house? Did you leave the house?
Eventually they wanted Karina to go out of the house, and I helped them take her out of the house.
Where did you go?
I think there was a bench at the front door.
What happened when you got to that bench?
We sat her there.
For what purpose?
I think that's where law enforcement took us.
Was there a time when the two of you were alone and law enforcement wasn't around? On that bench, some time where you were alone?
I don't recall it.
Okay. During that time that you were outside, did she ever provide you with any further information, what was happening or what had happened?
No.
Did you ask her what was going on?
No.
Okay. At that point, did you feel there was any point in trying to talk to her?
No.
Why do you say that?
Because most of it was just screaming and hysteric.
At some point, did you get some of Ryan's blood on you?
Yes.
How did that happen?
I had blood on my hand from checking from his pulse, and I had some on my chest from her hair.
From Karina's hair?
From Karina's hair, when I helped her out of the house.
Should be fairly clear, but can you just you helped her out of the house, and where was Karina in relation to you that you would have gotten Ryan's blood on you?
With her head on my shoulder as we walked out.
Were you aware whether Karina had a handgun of her own in the house?
No.
Did you ever have a conversation with her about a gun safe?
Yes.
What was that conversation?
I got asked by a deputy if I knew the combination to the gun safe in their house to ask Karina what it was.
Did you know the gun safe code?
No.
Do you have any idea how to get into that gun safe?
No.
Did you have that conversation with Karina?
Yes.
What did she tell you?
I couldn't get an answer. Or she said she didn't know, one of the two.
Do you remember about how long roughly that conversation was after you'd first arrived on scene?
No.
Were there any other security codes or other types of information you tried to get from her? I know there's some.
The shop combination to get into the door there.
Okay, explain that.
I didn't know, I didn't see my brother's vehicle there, so I wanted to check the shop, make sure nothing was stolen, or just trying to find information.
Okay, and you're trying to find that information by talking to Karina?
Yes, to get the code for the doors that were locked.
Okay, what happened when you talked to her about that code?
She gave me that code.
Okay. What was her demeanor at that time?
The same as it was most of the time.
Could you describe for us just a little bit? You're familiar with that property, correct?
Yes.
I think you said before that's property that's owned by Cooper Farms,
Yes.
and the family spent time together, so there's reason to believe you would have been both in and out of the house and in and around the property.
Yes.
Could you just describe for us, actually, we have a demonstrative exhibit that shows an overhead view of the property. I'm going to show you that exhibit and just ask you to explain the buildings that are there on the property.
Okay.
And Judge, this is States 311. All right, showing you States 311, do you recognize that?
Yes.
All right. And is that the property you just described on K Avenue?
Yes.
All right. Can you tell us then what we're seeing here and describe the buildings?
The house would be on the top side of the photo. The red shop, and then a storage shed beside that.
That larger building, had that been built
That was built after.
after 2021?
Yes.
So the red building there, what's in that building?
The red building,
Yes.
it's just, there's a bar in there, her salon,
Okay. You say her salon, I'm assuming you're talking about Karina.
Karina's.
Can you explain the salon and the salon business? What do you know about that?
She did haircuts.
Okay. And so otherwise you said there's a bar and anything else in that building?
Not of importance, really, just place to park and have recreational things in.
Okay. And then the next building over, that smaller building, what's that used for?
Mainly storage.
Storage of what? Is it big enough to park a vehicle in?
A vehicle, lawnmowers.
So you said you had some concerns then about perhaps there had been some other things that were taken or maybe something had been stolen. So did you walk around the property, go in the shop, and try to
I did.
You did? Any signs that anything had been stolen that you observed?
No.
Did you yourself see any signs of forced entry or reasons to believe that anything had been pried open?
No.
So that morning of June 18th, 2021, at any point did Karina provide you with any information as to what had happened to Ryan?
No.
Or any information about anything she knew about what occurred that night?
No.
Following the homicide, did she ever tell you or have a conversation with you about what occurred?
No.
You said the families are fairly close, is that correct?
Yes.
Is there any point at all where she called you or talked to you in person and had a conversation about anything related to Ryan's death?
Not that I recall.
Did she ever talk to you about seeing anything in the media or any stories related to this case?
She did call me once to talk about that they found a shell casing.
Okay. What was that conversation?
She wanted to know what it meant, what a shell casing meant.
I'm sorry, someone was coughing in the gallery. I couldn't hear what you said.
What a shell casing meant that they found. Wanted to know what that meant.
Okay. Is this the first and only conversation that you had with her about Ryan's death following, well, it sounds like essentially at any time?
Yes.
Do you remember approximately when this phone call took place in relation to Ryan's death?
2 weeks, a week. I don't recall exactly, but
So she calls you 2 weeks later and says that the news media is reporting that a shell casing was found?
correct.
Okay. And what did she say to you?
I don't remember exactly word to word, but just wanted to know what a shell casing was and what that would mean.
What was your reaction or thought based on that conversation?
I would assume she would know what a shell casing is.
Why?
Just being around all of us hunters and knowing what guns are around.
Okay. Has she been around? I'll ask you this. Did Ryan hunt?
Yes.
To your knowledge, did her sons hunt or use weapons?
Yes.
There are guns around their house and property?
Yes.
Was she around guns, hunting, shells, shell casings, bullets?
I would assume so, yes.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but how would you characterize this conversation? You found it to be
Odd.
Did you have, after Ryan died, did you have a visitation for him?
Yes.
You attended that visitation?
Yes.
Was Karina there?
Yes.
Did you have any observations of her behavior at that visitation?
Theatrical.
We are back on the record after our mid-afternoon break. We have our jurors and counsel and parties present, and we have Mr. Aaron Cooper on the stand. Mr. Cooper, even though we took a break, I just remind you, sir, that you were still under oath. And I guess before we resume with direct examination, right before we recessed, there was an objection by Ms. Watt. I think the parties discussed it, and the state essentially concurs with the objection, so I'm sustaining the objection. And Mr. Ringel, you may move on to your next question.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Cooper, do you see Karina Cooper here in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Could you point her out and describe an item of clothing that she's wearing?
And she's over here in a black and gray sweater.
Judge, the state would request that the record reflect identification.
The record so reflects.
No further questions.
Ms. Watt, cross-examination?
Thank you. Mr. Cooper, are you aware of whether or not Karina and Ryan, if they regularly lock their doors at night?
I'm not.
Were you aware of any marital problems between the two before this night?
I was not.
Had you ever heard Karina make any remarks to Ryan like that she would shoot him?
No.
This phone call about a shell casing, had you previously told police about that phone call?
Not that I recall. No.
Okay. I guess the state seemed to know of it. When did you first tell the state about that phone call?
Judge, I'm going to object. May we approach?
You may. Mr. Cooper, do you recall the question?
Could you repeat it?
Yes. When did you first tell the state about this phone call?
Within the last few weeks.
Okay. And I understand that oftentimes you might meet with the prosecution in order to just get ready for trial.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. And so that's when you provided the information about the phone call.
Yes.
How many times had you previously talked to the police about this case? Or the state, I guess.
I guess I don't have a number.
Okay. Well, more than 2?
Yes.
Okay. Regardless, when the phone call was made, I'm assuming you didn't give it much passing thought if you didn't mention it for several years.
No.
Okay.
All right, anybody who's got a phone on in the gallery, just make sure it's off on silent, all right? Thank you. I guess anybody's got a phone on up here too, make sure it's silent, but I haven't heard that yet.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Any redirect?
Just briefly, defense asked you if you were aware of any marital problems between Ryan and Karina. Based on your relationship with both Ryan and Karina, is that something you feel like you would be aware of?
No.
Why do you say that?
Don't really talk about our problems too often to each other.
Is that consistent with your personality?
Yes.
Would that be consistent with Ryan's personality as well?
Yes.
All right, thank you. No further questions.
Any recross?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cooper. You may step down.